Salvador Perez is the longtime Royal. He's only been a Royal. Was a young player when they won the World Series in 2000 and I want to say 15. And then they lost the World Series in 16. I think they went to back-to-back World Series. I think they won back-to-back pennants. They won one and lost one. They either won in 15 and lost in 16 or lost in 15 and won in 16. I can't remember which it was. And frankly, I could be wrong that they won back-to-back pennants, Coca, but I just have a recollection. And since then, they have tried to sign some of their guys. In 16, they signed Alex Gordon to a long-term deal. It was 14 and 15. So they lost in 14, then came back in 15 and won. Thank you, Coca. Who was 2016 then? I don't think that was the Red Sox. Have you ever played this game trying to name all the Super Bowl winners and go back 10 years and try to remember who they beat even? Or the World Series winners? It's really, oh, of course, the Cubs in 16. Thank you. I'm sorry to my Cleveland fans out there. I really am. So Salvador Perez is a mainstay with the Royals. The Royals are a small revenue team. They've been that way forever. They signed a bunch of their own guys after the World Series. Alex Gordon became a forever player when he signed in 2016. They can't bring everyone back. Eric Hosmer ended up signing a long-term deal with the Padres. So you have to make choices. What's interesting about the case of Salvador Perez is what's been debated now back and forth in the media. And I want to give you a president's perspective because what the Royals have done, there is no reason and no excuse. And I was a big fan of the old owner, David Glass, his son, Dan Glass. They ran the team. They had Salvador Perez, who signed a long-term deal when he was a child. He may have been 21 or 22. And it was a deal before he had become anything significant. They knew he'd be good, but it was one of those pre-arbitration, hey, I didn't come for money. I don't have money. I'd love some guaranteed money because I may get hurt. I may stink. And you're going to give me 15 or 16 or 18 million dollars. I'm set for life. My future kids are set for life. My parents are set for life. Everyone's set for life. Salvador Perez then becomes a mainstay on a World Series winning team, 2 pennant winners in a row. And the media started pressuring the Glass family to rip up Salvador Perez's contract. Dayton Moore was the GM at the time, and I was in the game, and I was speaking to our GM at the time and saying, why would you ever rip up a team-friendly contract? When players stink and they're overpaid, they don't give you money back. Isn't it part of the game that every once in a while you're going to get something right? Now, believe me, the majority of long-term deals you get wrong, but every once in a while you get it right. Why is it that when we get it right, they, not we, Coca, that's a buck. Why is it when owners get it right or presidents or GMs, they have to feel guilty about getting it right? When Jerry Reinsdorf gets it right, he refuses to rip up contracts. We saw that in the documentary The Last Dance with Scottie Pippen, and it caused a bit of a rift with Scottie Pippen. Who cares? Who cares? Didn't exactly stop them from winning 6 rings. It did stop them from winning rings while Jordan was retired because we found out Pippen couldn't lead them to a championship because of the New York Knickerbockers. But I digress a tad. And the Orlando Magic. Yes, you're right. The minute a player gives money back for not performing is the minute I'd be willing to rip up a contract for a player who is. But the Kansas City Royals had a different view. And their view was, let's right now say we're not going to keep you for these next 2 years when you're totally going to be underpaid. But instead, let's get a 5-year extension worth $50 million. We'll give you $50 million and we'll start it now. And our fans are going to be happy. Our sponsors are going to be happy. The media is going to be happy. It's going to be a kumbaya love fest. No reason. Except we're going to call a press conference. You have to say how much you love the owner, how much you love the president, how much you love the GM. You have to say how much you love Kansas City, how you're building roots in Kansas City. You have to be so thankful that we as management did that. And then you have to be a really good boy for these 5 years whenever we want you to go to a school appearance, whenever we want you to sign autographs, do whatever you want. And in return, we're going to ask you to still be good. Well, that'd be good, right? How did the $52 million 5-year deal work? Well, it was all right. Except he had Tommy John and missed an entire season in 2019. He didn't catch one inning. When players have Tommy Johns and they're not pitchers, they can come back. When pitchers have Tommy John, they mostly come back, but it's a ticking time bomb waiting for a second Tommy John or another flexor strain or some sort of shoulder issue. It's just bad. It's hard to pitch. When you're a position player, even a catcher, you can recover. So Dayton Moore, still the GM of the Royals. The Royals have been sold to a man named John Sherman, no relation to Bruce Sherman, owner of the Marlins, majority owner of the Marlins, not the face of the Marlins. John Sherman bought the Royals this past year for a cool bill. How the Royals couldn't get more for their team than the Marlins did is beyond me. The Royals are worth more than the Marlins by far. Better fan base, larger fan base, more sustainable fan base, bigger corporate market, higher corporate sponsorship deals, higher TV deals. Anyway, very unclear to me. So Salvador Perez sits with Dayton Moore, and Salvador Perez is going to be a free agent after this season. Remember, he didn't play in 19, and in 2020, it was a 60-game season, and he had a great year, but it was 60 games. And you know that I told you that every GM said of every performance in 2020, it meant nothing. Now, what GMs tell you publicly is if the player was bad, like Yelich was, they say, hey, it meant nothing. If the player was good and had been good in 2020, then you say, hey, he's good. He's going to be good. So this way, you can't go wrong. Everything's positive for your fan base. All right, fine. So Salvador Perez, who, by the way, only played, just keep this in mind as we tell you what's going on here. He only played in 37 of 60 games. 60 games is approximately 1/3 of a season, a little more than 1/3. So it's the equivalent of playing in, let's say, 100 games out of 162. That's not a lot. That's missing 2 months of a regular season. Okay, so Salvador Perez, he's hits, he's a little injured, but he's still the backbone of the organization. And by the way, he happens to be a great guy. I've been lucky enough to meet him a few times. He's not an acquaintance, he's not a friend, but he has a great reputation in the game. Great teammate, great everything. Okay. He's going to be a free agent after 2021. Dayton Moore sits down with him during this past season, off season. They start talking, and they end up signing him to an $82 million 4-year deal. The largest contract in Kansas City Royals history. I don't get it. What I don't get is that Dayton Moore all but admitted this contract did not have to be done now, but we did it as a thank you. I think you could have gotten him a motorcycle, maybe a nice framed picture, maybe some roses every month for a year, maybe a little plaque, maybe retired his number. An $82 million 4-year extension when he's in his 30s as a catcher, when he's nowhere near the catcher JT Realmuto is, and JT Realmuto had barely a bidder and ended up re-signing with the Phillies and got lucky. Salvador Perez coming off not just Tommy John, which he's recovered from, not just injuries from last year, but squatting as much as he does, knowing that 4 more years of squatting is highly unlikely given his age. And they did it because they wanted him to retire a Royal. They wanted to thank him for his service. Thank you for your service, Sal. John Sherman got to take the dais virtually and say, I like him. He is meaningful to us. He is associated with the Kansas City Royals. John Sherman, the new owner, will soon learn that just because you like a player and just because that player is associated with your city and you want him to retire, that does not mean you overpay him. And take it from me, I'm the king of overpaying and the king of wanting players to stay on your team the whole time, their whole career. It doesn't work out. It won't happen. And it doesn't make sense. So why would a small revenue team like Kansas City give a thank you pillow deal, which is what I'm going to call the Salvador Perez 4-year, $82 million extension? Why would they ever do that? I got it. It took a minute. I've been thinking about this show overnight, and I couldn't find a reason. And then it came to me. Because when you are a new owner of a team, You have tremendous tax benefits and depreciation benefits in the first 5 years of your ownership. From a cash standpoint, you get tremendous deductions. Therefore, from a cash standpoint, you actually are in better shape than you would be later on in your ownership. So you have the ability to use this sort of tax loopholes in order to do something good for your fan base and take credit as though you are not a cheap owner. I'm not saying John Sherman's a cheap owner. I'm saying that Kansas City is a small market team.